Good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another NerdTube Dragon Ball Daima review. And today we are talking about episode 16, DEGESU. Today I am joined, of course, by my Z Fighter in arms, Major Rage. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Excited to talk about this week's episode with you.
Good, good. Well, I think this week I'm going to start off. Um, I am actually fairly disappointed in this week's episode. Um, it, just and not because of maybe the second half, but more so because of the first half. I felt like the first half was just a big waste of time. I felt like we wasted a half an episode here just doing just totally, I don't want to say mundane stuff, but like just stuff that we could have been glossed over and we could have gotten to more meat and potatoes. But what are your overall thoughts?
Um, there's only one Tokusentai for me, and that's the Ginyu Tokusentai. I feel like the Gendarmerie Force or whatever was a big letdown. They set up for a gag that really had no payoff. That ended up giving you that impression of wasted time. I feel like they were the major weakness of the episode.
And I really don't want to dig into this because I'm very frustrated with it. And I get it, they're a gag, but at the same time, like how many gags in this show can we deal with? What my hope was is that uh, the the uh the like base race kind of looks very similar to Beerus's race. So I was hoping maybe they would surprise us with some hidden power or something like that they would transform into or whatever, because I know that they don't necessarily look like Beerus, but I mean, look at Champa. Like Champa kind of does look like he was right out of this troop. You know what I mean? So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, maybe Beerus is kind of the outlier with like the snout, or maybe that's and I know that Champa and Beerus are brothers, but I was really hoping for some kind of surprise with these guys, where I'm like, whether they have some hidden power that we don't know about, or and I knew that they wouldn't like put too much of a fight up against our heroes, but like really, like they were literally a time waste. Vegeta just pawned them like completely. There was no like, at least with Ginyu, there was like Ginyu really didn't stand a chance against Goku. Well, I mean, obviously there was the buildup where you had Krillin and Gohan versus the Ginyu Force, and Vegeta was getting beat, but none of them really stood a chance against Goku once he got there. But then the whole body swap thing happened, so there were like circumstances that made it more interesting. This one is just like they're more soldiers, which we cleared all of them out last episode. And the first half of this episode was just so just waste of space. I'm sorry. And we spent all this time setting them up in a previous episode and setting them up in this episode. They went through the whole montage again. Like I wanted to be Android 17 and be like when the Magic Girls were transforming in the Tournament of Power, and just be like, just Vegeta, just blow them all up. I don't even care. I don't even care if it makes no sense. Have Android 7 or Android 17 come out of nowhere and just blast them, like while they're doing their little Sentai thing. I'm like, it was so bad, and I'm sorry, but this is like the worst. Like this is the worst trope of Toriyama. You know what I mean? Like wasting time on a gag that just doesn't work. And I could. This is something that I could see Toriyama doing. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's not him. Maybe this was more of Toei being like, oh, we need to waste some more time or something. I don't know. But I felt like this time could be spent doing so many other things. So anyway,
Maybe
that's all. Oh, go ahead.
maybe learning Degesu's motivations
Yeah, maybe.
in the
Well, we kind of did.
episode. Yeah, but more of them. We could have spent more time on that.
Yeah, flashbacks maybe, or something. I mean, again, it's another lore dump, but at the same time, maybe we could get it from Degesu's perspective. So it's not actually like, maybe it's not Shin telling us what his motivations are. Maybe Degesu could actually be like explaining to us what his things are. So yeah, I'm sorry. Like this whole first part of the episode was just so wasted, and honestly, it's insulting to Vegeta. I'm a Vegeta stan. Like he's not my favorite in Dragon Ball, but I like him more than most characters. And it's just like it was a waste. It was absolutely a waste, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because I've already ranted enough. I don't. Do you have any final thoughts about this opening fight? Anything that stuck out to you that you actually liked? And keep in mind, just because I hated it doesn't mean everybody else has to hate it. If you liked it, I'm happy for you. Not you, but like in general, anyone else.
No, overall a disappointment. The coolest moment was that when the first one fired the beam that Vegeta dodges and it comes back at him like a boomerang. That little thing he pulled where he dashes straight at him, then up to make sure the guy get hit by his own blast was pretty cool. But that's about it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, yeah, you're right. That's a good, that's like a Goku move. So it's like Vegeta's stealing a Goku move, which is kind of ironic, you know? Like
the ultimate move stealer has one of his moves stolen.
Yep. Because how many? I mean, Goku's done that a couple times. Who did he do that on? Frieza, right? Like, didn't he run up to Frieza and then, or at least he tried? I remember that. Or was it Raccoon? I don't remember. Anyway, so yeah, all right. So one other thing that we got that we got cleared up is that the woman that got the third eye was not DEGESU. I was 99% positive that it was just DEGESU in disguise, but in all actuality, it was just a girl, I guess, that DEGESU hired. Which okay, fine. I think it kind of takes away from DEGESU's like move set, because I figured, you know, it would be good for him to, you know, have the like, you know, have the ability to, like, you know, change and chameleon, you know, be like a chameleon and do that kind of thing. But fair enough. I mean, so she had the third eye. And she's, of course, searching the castle looking for DEGESU to give it to him, which at this point I knew that she would eventually run into Goma. I didn't think she would run into DEGESU at all. So I don't know what, anything about that one, that part. I mean,
no, just the girl looks like a Dragon Quest character to me.
Yep.
I want to point out that you were kind of right. Something we talked about off screen. You asked me if I thought they were going to Garlic Jr. Goma up. I got to shout it out. You were right about that.
I mean, I was going to bring that up, but yeah, I mean it. You know what I just noticed this episode though? I just noticed that the Garomensu, or what, I don't know what their name is, but like the military symbol has the third eye in the middle of it. I never even realized that until just this episode.
I didn't catch it either.
Yeah, like apparently, like, because as I was watching the third eye and everything like that in this episode, and then you saw like the symbol on the military's equipment and stuff like that, and like the things all over the castle, like the third eye is in the middle of it. I'm like, holy shit, I didn't realize that at all. Now, granted, we just got introduced to the third eye last week properly, but yeah, so I was just gonna go, fair enough. So yeah, so we get to the DEGESU of it all, the namesake of this episode, and DEGESU takes Dende from his cradle and is apparently going to use him as a hostage. This is actually, I don't want to say it's something new for Dragon Ball, because I know it's happened before, but like to this extent, I don't think it's happened. Like pointing a gun at a literal child. I was like, this is a bit okay. I don't, you know, I don't know if this is going to be playing in the States, like at least on TV. I doubt it. I'm like, I don't know how well that's going to play. And I guess since it doesn't look like, you know, like a Magnum or something like that, I guess, you know, I guess it might be okay because it's more of a sci-fi gun, but still, like I was kind of like, wow, they're really going there. They're pointing the gun at a literal baby. You know, normally what they would do is like hold them over a cliff or something, you know, but you know, yeah. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on? I don't know. What are your thoughts on DEGESU and you know, basically the back and forth between him and the party, and I don't know. I don't. This episode just, man, this episode really, it forwarded the plot. It absolutely did. But I just have issues with maybe the pacing and that just waste of a first half.
I wish we had gotten more of DEGESU's motivation from his point of view. Maybe some flashback to his and Shin's previous interactions, see what their dynamic as brothers was like. I feel like if we hadn't wasted the time with the Gendarmerie Tokusentai, we could have seen those things. But as we got it, it just played out weakly. I was kind of shocked that they went as far as they did with the imagery, like you, and it's just it's a bit much, and I don't know how they'll handle it for the US release.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's on Netflix, that doesn't matter. I mean, there's no restrictions there on Netflix, right? I mean, Daima has been coming out on Netflix, so in Japanese so far. I don't know if the English has released it on Netflix, but that's outside of Crunchyroll, that's kind of really the only place you can watch it. I believe, like mainstream media. That's the only mainstream media that you can watch it on here in the States. Really, is Netflix. So I don't know if there's any restrictions there, but I'm like, if it ever does go televised, like, yeah, that's kind of like, I'm like, how are they going to play that? You know what I mean? Like it's substantial. Like there are substantial parts. They can't just cut the episode down. I feel like there's very, very long scenes where they are talking and he's got that gun to Dende's head. And I'm like, geez. So just continue with that. Pansy tries to rescue Dende and fails. Glorio actually rescues Dende using the hat that Yarbis, yeah, right? I don't remember his name. Hibis. Gosh, I'm so bad at this stupid name. Hibis used. So again, I was kind of like, oh, okay, so payoff for the hat thing, I guess. Sure. Again, like I'm just like, what? It's another Toriyama gag, and I'm like, maybe I was just in the wrong headspace when this was going on. Maybe it would have been fine if I hadn't wasted the whole first half of this episode with the Gendarmerie. Am I right, or am I still wrong? Okay,
you got it.
Finally, I heard you say it earlier, so I'm like, okay, got to remember it, Gendarmerie. But maybe if I hadn't wasted so much time with the Gendarmerie in the beginning of this episode, the knockoff Ginyu Force, maybe I would have been like, this is fine, okay. But like, it's just this episode just got on my nerves on so many levels. And yeah, I don't know. So Dende's rescued. Yay. Any other wrap ups for Dende? Like,
not really. I didn't expect it to be Glorio to be the one who ended up saving him, but we're getting close to finding out what Glorio's game really is, and I'm excited about that.
I mean, we have technically 4 whole episodes left, so we have 17, 18, 19, and 20 at this point. I know next at the end of the episode, I'm jumping forward a little bit, but I know that we're going to have the face off between our party and the Z party and Arinsu's lot. And so, but we also have now I'm drawing a blank, but so we have that. But this thing with Glorio is like, when I am jumping forward, I'm sorry, and I will come back to like one of the big moments of this episode, probably for the last part. But like the Arinsu Glorio face off, like it almost seemed like Glorio was upset with something that Arinsu did. Like there's something there that we don't know yet, and I'm waiting till that becomes revealed, because he seems like he's not on the same page as her, but they've technically been working together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like that's. Go ahead.
He had the sweat drop forming and all.
Yeah.
And so I mean, that's a big tell in anime.
So one of two things is happening. Either, well, and yeah, so one of two things is happening here. Either he is starting to have a change of heart, where he's like, actually, I don't want to betray the Z fighters, or he's just nervous that he's going to be outed as a traitor. Which at this point, why would you bother? You're literally there in front of your boss, and like you can. And as I said, I think everybody's after this crown. I think even Glorio is after this crown. Truth be told, like the Han Solo guy. I think I'm probably wrong on this one, but my inkling just tells me that like he had, well, maybe not. He's after the crown. He has an agenda that's not aligned with anybody else's. So he has an agenda. Obviously Arinsu has an agenda. DEGESU had an agenda. Goma has an agenda, but he's like the main like emperor bad. You know what I mean? And then the Elder Namekian. Also, I feel like he definitely has an agenda. So it's like everybody has an agenda here. Like, and I feel like that's what I'm saying is like I feel like Glorio and Arinsu maybe like I think Glorio thought that Arinsu and him were on the same like wavelength, but there's something there that's just not meshing right. And so yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that. You know, revealing that. And I'm not, as I said, I'm not going to pass judgment on what's going on there until we get the reveal, more than likely next episode, maybe the following. But and do you have any additional thoughts on Arinsu, Glorio, you know, anything like that?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head.
I am excited about the fight next week
Yes.
because I'm have you, okay, first off, have you seen the preview for next week's episode?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a banger.
Yeah. I didn't want to say anything if you haven't. So if you haven't watched the preview for next week's episode, spoiler alert, they fight, which we kind of figured was going to happen. Yeah, I'm kind of excited for Majin Buu and Ku versus our Z fighters. Oh, and there's one other thing I want to bring up before we move on. Piccolo got the W on DEGESU. He's the one who knocked him out. Piccolo did something.
Yay!
So next week I'm very excited for next week. I think it's going to be a good fight. I think that it's because it looks like it's going to be I think it's going to be like a 3-on-2 where it's Do and Ku versus Vegeta, Piccolo, and Goku. Maybe it's going to be 2-on-2. I don't know. But I'm actually excited for a 2-on-2 fight because I don't think we've had one of those in a long time. Maybe since the Tournament of Power. So I'm kind of excited for that. So anyway, so any other thoughts about, no other thoughts about, you know, the Ku and Do and everything before we move into like the big part of the episode?
No, not really. Let's see.
All right. So we go back to Goma, and Goma is now that girl that we thought was DEGESU. So not DEGESU. We'll call her not DEGESU. Not DEGESU. Wanders into the throne room and says, "Hey, I got this thing for DEGESU." And then Goma's like, "Oh, it's a third eye." And so shenanigans ensue where he's trying to get the third eye out of the belt. I really like this part. I thought this was great because Goma's like, you know, using what was it? He was using all these tools to try to get it out. And then he had to use a plunger and then he got it out. And I love it that it fell back in and he had to do it again. Just like that is a Toriyama gag that works. You know what I mean? Like for me, that was a Toriyama gag that works. And so then we go into, you know, he has the eye. For some reason, he asked not DEGESU to put, she had to put the eyeball in his forehead. I don't know why he couldn't just do it himself. Maybe it has to be given. Maybe that's just something they didn't explain or I missed. You know, it's just kind of weird that he didn't just, you know, he told her to do it. Or maybe he's just that like petulant that he's like, no, somebody must present me with the third eye. You know, I can't do it myself. I must be presented with it.
Your guess is as good as mine because they didn't really give us any context there.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just for the sake of having her be grossed out by having to do it. And it was just for a gag.
I mean, that's a typical Toriyama gag too, where girls are grossed out by like anything. You know what I mean? Like he loves that where like girls are like, ew, spiders, ew, snot, ew, eyeballs. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, nobody wants to, you know, sit there and hold an eyeball. But so we get our Garlic Jr. moment where he has a third eye in his forehead and he grows to massive proportions and we get Jiren 2.0. I mean, Garlic Jr. 2.0. I mean, Super Goma. I mean, he does. When he grew big, I'm like, that looks a lot like from the back. I'm like, that looks a lot like Jiren, except for obviously the you know, the whatever, his hat thing or whatever. Cardigan. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Any thoughts on the design? I think it's kind of basic. I think it's fine. Like, but I think it's also been done before.
I'm kind of where you're at with it. It's serviceable, but
Yeah.
it's at this point he's designed so many characters. How are you going to make something really unique?
Yeah, and again, that's why I'm okay with serviceable, but like it's kind of like okay, like I thought like maybe his outfit would rip off and he would have like something going on underneath. Like I was hoping for like his shirt would kind of and he got like glyphs all over him or something or like sigils or something like that from the third eye, like and so I had this whole thing in my head, and I'm going to explain it really quick. I apologize for droning on, but like I had this thought in my head when I was like, okay, whatever his final transformation, I hope he has sigils in it, and each sigil represents like an ability. And so as he's fighting, when he's using abilities, that sigil would light up, like abilities from the third eye. And I don't know why, I don't know where it came from, but it just came out of my brain somewhere, and I'm just like, that would be a really cool like visual thing. It doesn't have to be this big thing, but like, if he's going to block something, he has like a sigil on his chest and it would light up and he would block or whatever. And when he goes to blast, he could have like sigils on his shoulder and he would just blast or something, or using specific abilities or something like that. Like I thought that would be, I was hoping for something like that. And I don't know where I pulled that from, but either that or I just made it up. But yeah, I don't know what are your kind of hopes for the Goma fight? I just hope it's not a gag fight. I want a good fight, and I think it will be, but I'm like, I don't want it to be a gag fight.
I'm looking forward to a knockdown drag out, just them versus some huge immovable force, and it takes several of them attacking together to finish him off. That's kind of the trajectory that I expect it to take.
And honestly, I'm gonna put it out there. I am a fan of the Garlic Jr. saga. I know it's anime only. I know that it has its problems, but the fights in the Garlic Jr. saga are so good. Like if you watch those fights and it's Piccolo, Gohan, Krillin, it's not like Goku who's just romful stomping people. It is literally like and Garlic Jr.'s are mortal. So no matter what they do, they can't kill him. So it's like I'm kind of hoping for something like that, where it's like maybe the third eye just like everything they do just kind of doesn't, like they can go Super Saiyan 3 and it's like the damage that they do, he just soaks it. And I'm not talking about soaks it in the way where it's like he never gets hurt, but like he recovers really quick. You know what I mean? Like I'm just hoping for that. So yeah, so that's kind of it. I mean, that's the episode. See, I knew the first half really irked me, and I knew I came into this with a really negative attitude. But I'm like, that first half was just like, what are you doing? Why are we here? Who cares about these guys? We did this last episode. If you would have put them at the end of last episode, I'd have been fine. I'd have been like, okay, all of the Giri Dama. God, see, now I already forgot the name. The Giri Dama or whatever. They're all done. Like at the end of last episode, we took out the whole army, including them. We're done. Now we're moving on to the big bads. I don't know. Any other final thoughts about this episode?
Not really. I think we hit all the high notes. Pacing could have been better.
And the high notes and low notes. Let's be real.
But true. Yeah.
All right. I guess I'll let you rank it first. I'm balancing between two, and not that I'm going to steal your rank, but I'm just like, I'm still going between two because I'm trying not to be too mean about it. But at the same time, I'm like, I kind of have a number in my head, but I'll let you go first. And
I can't land on 6 or 7. I think I'm going to land on 7 and be, 6. Let's do 6.
Wow. Even that high. Okay.
Yeah.
I was going between 4 and 5. I was really going between 4 and 5. I will probably land on 5 just because there were some good parts of this episode, but this episode definitely, I don't know if this one's worse or the other one is worse. I don't know the other one that I really hated. I don't remember what number it was, but I guess this one would be a little bit better than one of those, just because there was actual plot progression in this one. But that first whole half of that episode was a waste. And honestly, a lot of times I sit there and think to myself in these latter episodes, why is Vegeta even here? Like, yes, it's super cool that he's like, he fought the Tamagami 2 and he's Super Saiyan 3. That's all cool. But like, why is he here? He fought these guys this episode and it was like nothing. He brushed them off. You know, like Piccolo probably could have taken all them on. But no, we can't give anyone shine other than Goku and by adjacent, maybe Vegeta sometimes. Like, I think they should have, because it was Goku, Vegeta, and then they should have been like, hey, Piccolo, why don't you take these guys? It's your turn. I honestly feel like if we only had Goku, Piccolo, Shin, I don't want to leave Vegeta out because I love Vegeta, but what is he doing here? You know what I mean? Plot wise, he's literally a canon here. Goku's at least here because he's the main character. You know, Vegeta's your WMD. He's there to do the things that kind of like nobody wants to do, kind of, I guess. I don't know. So I think, honestly, if you take Vegeta out of this equation for some reason, and I'm not talking about this episode, I'm talking about the whole series. Like, yeah, he could have been there on Earth and become a kid, but like, again, why is Vegeta here? I don't. I'm trying not to drone on too much, but like, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, what are your thoughts? I mean, if you want Vegeta there just for the sake of Vegeta being there, that's fine. He's here. But it's just like, and yes, we got the Super Saiyan 3 thing, which is cool. But like, why else is he here?
To be grumpy, it would seem. That's just it. And we know Vegeta's grumpy. He's always grumpy.
Why is Bulma here? We have Pansy. Like, if Pansy wasn't here, I could see having Bulma here. But like, why is Bulma here?
Yeah.
I don't have anything against the Brief family. I'm just saying, like, why?
The intro made it seem, and endings too, made it seem like Bulma and Pansy would have more interactions and kind of maybe act as foils for each other. And, you know, that could have, you know, justified Bulma's presence more, but she's just kind of there. Unlike on Namek, where it was integral that they have Bulma with them.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, as I said, I have nothing against the Briefs family. I like them more than the Sun family. I'm just saying. But I don't know why. Like, I would much rather it have been Goku, Piccolo, you know, and then like the adjacent, and Shin, and then the adjacent characters. I feel like that would have been a better balance of characters. You know what I meant? You know what I mean? Piccolo could be grumpy. Piccolo could be grumpy all the time. He used to be grumpy all the time. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to be happy all the time. Gohan's not around. He doesn't have to do the dad mode while Gohan's not around. You know? Anyway. Okay, so I know I droned on for a little bit. And I do want to talk about this more maybe as we do like our season review of Daima. I do want to kind of dig into this more with Vegeta and Bulma, or you know, like why they're there, but I don't want to drone on too long right now about that. So that's Dragon Ball Daima, episode 16, DEGESU. Everybody out there in YouTube land, thank you very much for joining us here today. If you've made it to the end of the video, please like, share, and subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you kind of maybe sort of heard of. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.